this is absolutely incredible stuff. The OSIRIS REx mission. I'd heard about this. I'm a little embarrassed to say I don't follow space and astronomy news as closely as I do, since I want to since I want to do podcasting and videos about it. It's something I absolutely love talking about. It tickles me in all the right ways. I have good 3D imagination, and that's why I'm really good at picturing Mars and Venus. No, I'm joking. But I love to kind of like internally conceptualize all these things. I think that's why I liked Oppenheimer so much, because he and I, we both like to imagine stuff, and we also both want to bang communists. OSIRIS REx. So there's all these giant things flying around out there called asteroids. I'm not talking about the video game from your 80s, from your childhood. These things can kill us. Comets as well. Comets are just icy asteroids, essentially. They're just water-based, so they have rock mixed with ice chunks. Comets, we tend to be more visible because when they get close to us, when they're near the inner solar system, they're subjected to the sun's solar rays, and the heating effect of the sun is very, very hot, even out just outside Earth. It's hot here. To go to the moon, where there's in the bright sunlight, it's like several million degrees. That's not true, but it's like hundreds of degrees. Fucking hot. It's really hot close to the sun because it's a huge, enormous, ongoing, stable nuclear furnace that will churn and churn, although it's slowly billowing itself out. It's just slowly getting a little bit bigger. They sort of swell up like a tick. That's not actually. They don't accumulate anything. They swell up because they're losing mass, which is counterintuitive, but it's because as they are ejecting mass to the tune of it's like 600, I'm going to get this wrong, but it's like 600 trillion. That sounds like too much, but it's it's like 600 million tons a second. It's like, it's all this energy is being converted into light, which consumes a bunch of that energy, but also actual solar particles. And so it's getting smaller by mass, but because it's getting a little bit smaller, this is sort of an asteroids, but now I'm talking about how the sun works. Because it's losing mass, though, its gravity is actually going down at a rate. And when you reduce the gravity of an object like the sun that's trying to push itself out because of the ongoing nuclear fusion reaction happening in the center, that's causing that allows it to become larger. That's why it'll end eventually be a red giant, extending probably past the orbit of the Earth. And there actually is mixed scientific opinions about whether or not the Earth will survive inside the red giant once it reaches our orbit. Because Earth is still a huge ass thing compared to the sun. It's not, but it's still a big old fucking ball of mass itself. And it might just be orbiting inside that until it actually kind of just sloughs off these huge layers. The sun's not big enough to go supernova, but it is big enough to go to die the way most stars of our variety sun. The most stars in the galaxy are red dwarfs, are smaller than our sun. Okay, goddamn it, Hank, get back on it. Yeah, so less gravity means the sun can get bigger. It takes a long time, by the way, and it's going to kill the Earth far before the red giant phase, because the brightness will go up over time, and so it'll get hotter and hotter and hotter. So we have about 500 to a billion years to go before the Earth's water and biology is completely cooked off the planet, and then we'll just be like a dead, dry rock for another 3 or 4 billion years before it actually gets swollen up. So there you go. I think that's mostly accurate. I really want to date astronomers. I feel like dating an astronomer would be fun. Man. What does news got to say?
Was an historic first for NASA today when a tiny capsule plummeted back to Earth. Inside it, samples taken directly from an asteroid. Scientists hope it could shed light on the origins of the universe. Liz Kreutz has more.
That's where my Legos went. Why did I say that?
It's an out-of-this-world journey, 7 years and 4 billion miles in the making.
The SRC has entered the Earth's atmosphere.
Tonight, NASA's first ever sample from an asteroid has touched down on Earth.
Touchdown.
Pretty cool. Yes! Look at that.
The space capsule carrying the precious sample entering the atmosphere Sunday morning, traveling at more than 27,000 miles an hour, reaching temperatures of more than 5,000 degrees.
At this point, we've entered in over San Francisco.
Eventually landing in the Utah desert.
Where they
just sitting perfectly on the desert floor.
That is a good shot. So this capsule was part of this long mission called OSIRIS REx, and it's just unbelievable that we can do this stuff. that we have the knowledge to be able to launch a thing into the off the Earth to start with, and then send it far into the solar system. It orbited this asteroid for a while, gathered up a bunch of samples, and there's all kinds of protocols for keeping it pure so that it doesn't get contaminated. It's like undergoing like various baths of like heavy elements and I think it was, I don't know what it was. Why am I fucking trying to explain that? And in order, because they go out of their way to like eliminate any possibility that some kind of earthly contaminant could get it, because now that it's here, you know, it's going to get the microplastics, the lead poisoning, the asbestos. Someone's going to sneeze on it. Someone's going to, you know, show it some porn, make it get real weird. But no, they want to maintain the absolute, because this is a little cluster of stuff from a freaking asteroid, far, far, far away. Yeah, let's keep going.
Hard to articulate what that means after so much put into this mission.
Inside the capsule, a half-pound sample of rocks and dust collected from an asteroid called Bennu, which scientists say could one day crash into Earth. It also may hold important clues to the origins of our solar system.
So why this asteroid? What's so special about this one?
We think of asteroids as pristine time capsules from the very, very early formation of our solar system. We hope to learn more about the building block material that makes
advertising opportunity. Put some billboards on those asteroids. Come on, man. What the fuck are you guys doing? Don't you guys want to sell some more products? Lotion? Dove moisturizer? Put an asteroid billboard up.
our own planet billions of years ago.
Liftoff of OSIRIS REx.
The mission began in 2016, the spacecraft traveling years to reach the asteroid 200 million miles away from Earth.
It was a challenging feat to do. The asteroid's surface is kind of like a rubble pile, which we didn't expect. It's kind of like if you were to stand on a children's ball pit, you would fall right into that ball pit.
Despite challenges,
I don't know the exact dimensions or size of that asteroid. It's small comparatively to Earth, so it's not like you can just land on a hard surface like a sandy beach. Be like, oh, a little bit of sand. It's like it like crumbled apart. Like it was like, because it's holding itself together with its own weak gravity. It's just fascinating. I love that shit. They didn't expect it to be as soft as it was.
Success. Finally back on Earth, today scientists retrieving the charred capsule, anxiously waiting to unlock the secrets held inside.
And Liz joins us now. Liz, this is so cool.
Here's Liz.
Getting these samples to Earth was just the first part, though, of this mission, right?
That's right, Judy. They're going to have to cut it open and see what kind of, like, this is how the horror movie starts, though. You slice it open, a little purple light comes out, and then something, and the guy goes, huh. And a little bug just launches into his mouth, and then he's like, ugh. Like, picks his nose, like, walks over there, buys a Coke, and then within days, it starts to infect everybody. But luckily, there's a guy who knows how to ride a horse with a sassy teenager, and they somehow murder other guys. All right, so that's fun. There's actually a little bit here about Asteroid. This is the OSIRIS REx mission YouTube channel. Their title here is NASA's Asteroid Heist, the challenges of TAG. Show us something here, NASA.
As we started to approach Bennu from a distance and it started to fill up the camera field of view, it looked exactly like we thought it would, with a few boulders sticking out. But as we got closer, we expected to see a very sandy surface with maybe a few boulders here.
That's when I would hit on women back before I got my glasses. As I got closer, no, I would. Yeah, I used to go to hitting on women. Is that the thing that people do anymore? Going up and approaching a stranger and then having them shoo you off? Get out of here.
And what we saw is very little sand. And we saw these mountains, we saw boulders, we saw rocks.
That's cool.
We saw very few areas that had this sandy surface that we were expecting and what we had designed to.
All right. Oh, here's what OSIRIS REx stands for. Origins, Spectral Interpretation, Resource Identification, Security, Regolith Explorer. That's why there's a lowercase x at the back at the end of it.
We have never done this before. We're actually going to collect a sample and bring it back down to Earth for further examination by scientists.
Hell yeah.
In order to achieve that objective, the OSIRIS REx spacecraft has been navigating around Bennu for about the last 2 years, studying it in great detail, and also overcoming a number of challenges that Bennu has presented. We were looking for locations on Bennu that were 50 meters in diameter, relatively flat.
And then the rent prices went up and they weren't able to afford anything.
And covered with fine-grained material. And by fine-grained material, I mean stuff that's the size of a dime or smaller. We realized that there were no sites on Bennu that even came close to meeting this criteria. Everywhere we looked was too small and covered with boulders. So we actually had to fly a number of additional close passes over the asteroid and rethink our entire plan for grabbing the sample.
Okay.
After the additional observations of
October
Bennu,
14th.
we had to down
Just so you know, this is 2020, October 14th.
select to 4 sites, and then go back and survey those sites even further to select the final primary sample site.
My first impression of Nightingale is that's the last place I wanted to go. But as we started looking at other sites,
Well, actually, I really would be my mother-in-law's house. What if he made that joke?
saw that this is probably one of the most sampleable sites.
Ugh, I'd rather be on the asteroid than my goddamn mother-in-law's fucking couch.
And 2, we were
there's a car.
overperforming in our navigation capability and our ability
Those
to
are for
contact.
scale, so you...
Natural feature tracking works a lot.
They
like
would never use a train to help you understand scale, just a car, because we all have seen those for most of our lives.
in mind in that we pick up landmarks along the way. As we descend, we look at features on the ground. We program the computer to recognize certain features. It takes a picture, says this feature is not where I expected it to be. It's a little bit off to the side, updates its position based on where it's pointed and where that feature shows up in the camera position.
Very cool.
The tag event is our touch and go event, which is where we'll actually be retrieving the sample from asteroid Bennu. We start with a series of maneuvers, one of them being the checkpoint burn, which is where we'll actually check our position velocity in relation to the sample site.
And then the match point burn, about 10 minutes later, will zero out our horizontal velocity relative to the surface. And then about 10 minutes after that, we make contact with the tag SAM, fire the gas bottle, and then back away.
And we hope to get at
here we
least
go.
60 grams of sample, and then we'll be able to store that and bring it back down to Earth.
But there are several things that could go wrong, and we also have to be prepared that we won't be
There's
successful.
like a big kind of carburetor looking thing for my auto mechanic friends out there. I don't know shit about cars. I just know some of the parts in the engine, and they don't even use carburetors anymore, right? But it's like a big sort of disc, kind of a tall, thick disc, sort of a filter, almost like a filtration sort of device in a sense.
Successful on our first try at Nightingale.
We don't only get one shot at tag, we actually have 3 nitrogen bottles on board the spacecraft, so we can potentially do 3 tag attempts if needed. We go through several what-if scenarios, and this is how we actually prepare for a lot of our contingencies.
So we've had to look all around the surface and identify the rocks and boulders.
tips over.
That if the spacecraft were to tip over up to 25 degrees, it could come into contact and be damaged.
We had to develop a hazard map, which we program into the computer and says, if you're getting too close to those hazards, we'll wave off
this.
We'll back away from the asteroid and we'll come back and do this another day.
Everything might work perfectly. We come down, we touch the surface just where we want to, we fire the gas bottle, but the area we contact is covered in large rocks. Those rocks would prevent any fine-grained material from being stirred up and captured in the tag SAM head. Another similar scenario is if the tag SAM were to touch on the edge of a boulder and become tipped up. In that case, when the gas bottle fires, much of that gas escapes out the side, not churning up the material that we...
You roll your ankle. That's bad stuff. Okay, so you guys get it. It's fun. We'll see what happens now that they got it back to Earth. What an achievement. Government-funded scientific exploration, incredibly competent, incredibly cool stuff. Very, very, very important, I think, for a species such as ours to continue this kind of thing, even though you could argue we need to solve earthly problems first, but these things don't come at the cost of that. We have a much bigger issue with just handing money off to rich people and wasting our value and our time and our energy just to make sure that fucking assholes can afford Maseratis in 20,000 years. So